A big part of the real estate process in Hawaii is escrow. And a lot of people don't really hear about that until they're into the process. So we're going to talk about that next with my good friend Cody Day. What is it? How much does it cost? And a few other things. So escrow is coming up next. Hey, aloha everybody. Dylan Nonaka here with Coldwell Banker Merrill Realty, and I have Cody Day from Fidelity National Title here again with us to talk about another escrow topic, and that's escrow in general. And the question that I have for her is, what is escrow? Because everybody asks, they kind of know once you get under contract, we talk about going into escrow, and that's probably the most important part of the property buying process, aside from actually looking for property, because that's when all of the heavy lifting gets done in terms of transferring the ownership of the property over. So I wanted to talk to her specifically and tell us a little bit about what goes on in that process, so you know what to expect once you get into escrow. So what is escrow, Cody?
Escrow is, I like to call it a safe haven. It is the neutral third party that steps in and makes sure that everybody that is a party to the contract is doing things in a fair and legal way, that everything is mutually agreed upon, and that everybody is protected, their monies are safe, and that everything gets transferred over as according to the contract. And we follow instructions, so we do as we are told and as everybody is agreed upon. They make sure that any payoffs or liens or judgments are cleared. They work with our title department very closely to find out what the story is of the property and find out what we need to do to make sure that the actual transfer of the property is clear and that you own what you are purchasing and nobody else has rights to that. So we work very closely with the realtors, with the lenders, with the title department, with the 1031 exchange departments to make sure that everything gets done smoothly.
Okay. What does it cost normally, that whole service and that whole process?
That's based on the purchase price, and that's typically a 50-50 split between the buyer and seller. So depending on that purchase price, we basically get all of that situated, all of that work done ahead of time, and then at the close of escrow, that's all paid through the final closing.
And that's important to understand because depending on the type of financing you're doing, you can finance some of that cost or it's covered by the loan fees, but in most cases it's not, and that's an additional cost that you got to prepare for to come out of pocket in addition to a down payment. So, and that's something that a lot of people don't think about.
And again, it's real estate, so everything's negotiable, right?
Right.
So sometimes closing costs are paid by all seller or all buyer, depending on what you have negotiated. So when I say typically or customarily, everything's open to negotiation.
Yeah, and a lot of those fees, as you said, are split. So the seller pays commissions, right? The biggest cost when you sell is real estate commissions, but then when it comes on escrow fees, that's shared between both buyer and seller, right?
Yep.
Okay. Are there any discounts if you've done business before?
Absolutely.
Or you have any certain statuses?
Number one, we are proudly offering discounts to our active military or retired military for U.S. forces. We give 25% off our title fee for that, as well as government employees, first-time home buyers, senior citizens, as well as investors. Oftentimes, a short-term rate is able to be applied, and that is 50% off the title side if the property closes within 1 year of its previous recording date, if insured by any title company, actually. So not just if we have previously closed on that, it's if any title company has previously insured in the last year, that's 50% off the title. If it happens to close within that 1 to 5 year time frame, that's 25% off the title side. So only one of those discounts applies, the 25% off for any of those other previous discounts that we spoke of, or the short-term rate applies.
So make sure you're asking for those.
Absolutely.
If you qualify. You want to make sure you're getting any discounts that you can. Anything else you want to say about escrow that we need to know?
I would say that it is definitely a job that is hard to do, and it requires everybody working together. It takes a village. It's one of those things where delays can happen if we don't get paperwork back on time. We're able to work as quickly and accurately as possible if it's all hands on deck, which is hard to do in real estate transactions sometimes. You have people traveling overseas, you have doctors and lawyers and surgeons of such that are often have very tight time frames in their schedule. So anything that you can do to help us get things back into our office, signed, and acknowledged is something that will help us all work together and cause less delays.
And an important point I want to make is, how is the escrow company chosen?
Ooh. That is the buyer's choice. Typically, we are in a buyer's choice state. Typically, we are working with sellers ahead of time so that we can go ahead and provide those title reports to the sellers so that the realtors and us at title can start clearing any issues that come up before an accepted offer. So while it is the buyer's choice, oftentimes a lot of work has gone into that transaction before it's even a transaction. And we just hope to have the return on that investment, and we're happy to partner with you folks in that, but that's typically how it works.
So important, it is a negotiated item in the contract. You have to put that in the purchase contract. So you want to make sure you're talking to your realtor about that. If you have a preference, or if you want to do some research in terms of what title company you want to use, or what the different policies are for title insurance, you want to make sure you're checking on that, because it's not, a lot of times people just go with whoever the realtor puts into the contract, and you want to make sure that title company is as good as it can possibly be, because that's a huge part of getting the transaction closed, is making sure that your title company can get it done.
Absolutely. So it's kind of like matchmaking. If you have a client that is very much email responsive, you want to match them up with an escrow officer that is very much email responsive, or phone. If they need somebody that's on the phone and they want that extra time and attention, you need to match them up with somebody that's willing to do that. So every transaction is different, everybody closes a little bit differently, and the magic really happens when you've developed that relationship with a title partner or an escrow partner, so that you kind of know what to expect and how each other works. So.
Cool. Well, how do they get in touch with you if they got more questions?
Give me a call anytime. You can reach me on my cell, 808-315-1740.
All right. Well, thanks, Cody, for, again, sharing a bunch of great information with us. And again, this is the Buy Big Island video blog. Thanks you guys for watching. See you next week. Aloha.
Aloha.